The venue coordinator looked uncomfortable as my brother Jason gestured toward me with exaggerated casualness. "Riley doesn't mind helping out," he said to his future father-in-law, Marcus Thornton. "She's always been hands-on. Very practical." Marcus's eyes swept over me with barely concealed disdain. I was wearing simple black pants and a white blouse, professional, understated. Nothing like the designer outfits Jason's fiancée Madison and her family had been sporting all week. "The valet service is short 2 people, Marcus said slowly as if explaining to a child. "If your sister is offering to assist with parking, that would be helpful." "I'm not offering," I said quietly. Jason's smile tightened. "Riley, come on. Don't be difficult. The Thorntons are already stressed about the wedding logistics. If you could just help park cars for a couple hours during arrival." I said no. "It's not beneath you," Madison chimed in, her voice sugary sweet. "We all pitch in for family. Unless you think you're too good to help." I looked at my brother. My younger brother who I'd supported through college, who I'd helped with his first apartment deposit, who I'd given career advice to for years. The brother who was now asking me to park cars at his wedding to impress his new in-laws. "I have other responsibilities," I said. Jason's face flushed. "You always do this. Always make everything about you. This is my wedding, Riley. My day. Can't you just be supportive for once?" Marcus placed a hand on Jason's shoulder. "It's fine, son. We'll manage with the staff we have. Some people simply aren't team players." His tone made it clear exactly what kind of person he thought I was. I pulled out my phone and checked the time. The venue manager would be arriving in 20 minutes for our scheduled meeting. The meeting Jason knew nothing about. "I need to go," I said. "I'll see you at the ceremony." As I walked away, I heard Madison whisper loudly, "Is she always this selfish?" I'd bought the Riverside estate 3 years ago when I was 29. The property had been a struggling events venue, beautiful historic mansion on 12 acres, but mismanaged and hemorrhaging money. The previous owners were desperate to sell. I'd made my money in commercial real estate development. Started at 23 with a single property flip, built it into a portfolio of 18 commercial properties across the state. The Riverside estate was my first venture into the events industry, a passion project that had turned surprisingly profitable once I'd restructured the operations. Jason knew I worked in real estate. He'd never asked for details. When I'd mentioned buying an events property, he'd said, "That's nice," and changed the subject to his law firm promotion. When he'd gotten engaged 6 months ago, Madison had complained endlessly about venue costs. "Everything decent is so expensive," she'd moaned at a family dinner. "The places we can afford are dumps and the nice venues are $50,000 just for the rental." "The Riverside estate is beautiful," I'd suggested. "Have you looked there? That old mansion?" Madison had wrinkled her nose. "That's where the Thorntons had their company gala last year. Marcus says it's overpriced and the management is difficult." I'd bitten back a smile. Marcus Thornton had tried to negotiate our corporate event pricing down by 40%, demanding upgrades and additions while refusing to pay for them. Our events manager had held firm on the contract terms. Marcus had paid full price and complained about it ever since. "It might be worth a look," I'd said. 3 weeks later, Jason had called excitedly. "We found the perfect venue. The Riverside estate gave us an amazing deal, 30% off because Madison's dad knows someone on the board." Can you believe it? There was no board. There was me, the sole owner. And I'd authorized the family discount myself, through our booking manager, without telling Jason. I'd wanted my brother to have a beautiful wedding. I'd wanted to give him that gift. But in the 6 months since, as Madison's family had made increasingly dismissive comments about my little real estate job, as Jason had grown more embarrassed by my lack of flashiness compared to the Thorntons' wealth, as they'd all assumed I was struggling financially, my generosity had started to feel like a mistake. The venue manager, Patricia, met me at the mansion's private entrance. "Riley," she said warmly, "everything's ready for tomorrow. The Thorntonshire wedding is fully set up. Though I have to say..." She hesitated. "I'm surprised you haven't told your brother you own the venue." "He never asked," I said simply. "Mrs. Thornton has been particularly demanding," Patricia continued as we walked through the mansion. "She's called 6 times this week alone with adjustments. She seems to think the family discount entitles her to unlimited changes. Does she? This morning she demanded we replace all the centerpieces, $4,000 in flowers, because she decided she doesn't like the color palette. She said Marcus knows the owner, and they won't be charged for changes. I stopped walking. What did you tell her? That all change orders require written approval and payment per the contract. She threatened to call the owner and have me fired. Patricia smiled slightly. I told her to go ahead. We entered the ballroom. It looked spectacular, exactly as I'd envisioned when I'd renovated the space. Crystal chandeliers, restored hardwood floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the gardens. $200,000 in renovations. Worth every penny. There's something else, Patricia said carefully. Mr. Thornton has been telling guests that he got them a deal here because he's friends with ownership. He's implying he has special influence. Of course he is. Do you want me to correct him? I thought about Jason asking me to park cars. About Madison calling me selfish. About 6 months of subtle digs about my practical career and simple lifestyle. Not yet, I said. Let's see how tomorrow plays out. The wedding day arrived with perfect weather. I dressed in an elegant navy dress. Simple but expensive, though no one would know the difference. I arrived early and parked in the guest lot, watching as the valet service began handling the arriving cars. Jason and Madison were getting ready in the bridal suites. I sent a congratulations text. Jason replied, "Thanks. Did you reconsider helping with parking? We're really short-staffed." I didn't respond. The ceremony was beautiful. Jason looked nervous and happy. Madison looked stunning. I sat in the third row. Extended family seating, apparently despite being Jason's only sibling. The Thorntons filled the first 2 rows on Madison's side. At the reception I found my table assignment. Table 9 near the back with distant cousins I barely knew. The Thorntons had a sprawling head table. Jason had seated his college friends at tables near the front. I wasn't offended. Just noted. During cocktail hour I overheard Marcus holding court near the bar. Got them a hell of a deal on this place, he was saying to a group of business associates. The owner tried to charge full price, but I made some calls. When you have the right connections, everything's negotiable. His wife Barbara nodded. Marcus knows everyone in this city. The venue practically begged for our business once they knew who we were. I sipped my champagne and said nothing. The reception was in full swing when Patricia found me. "Riley," she said quietly. "We have a situation. Mrs. Thornton is in the kitchen demanding the chef prepare a completely different dessert than what was contracted. She's insisting it's included in their package. And the chef told her it would be an additional $2,000. She said to bill it to the owner's account, since Marcus has special arrangements." I set down my champagne. "Where is she?" Barbara Thornton was in the service corridor outside the kitchen, her face flushed with champagne and indignation. The chef stood his ground, arms crossed. "This is unacceptable," Barbara was saying. "Do you know who my husband is? One call to the owner and you'll be." "I'm the owner," I said. He spun around. "What?" "I'm the owner," I repeated. "Of the Riverside estate. Of this mansion. Of the 12 acres you're standing on. I'm Riley Chin and this is my property." Barbara's mouth opened and closed. "That's Jason's sister? You're Jason's sister." "Yes. But you work in real estate. Small properties. Jason said you do house flips or something." "I own 18 commercial properties across the state," I said calmly. "The Riverside estate is one of them. The 30% discount you received? I authorized it. As a wedding gift to my brother." The chef excused himself quickly. Patricia remained, notepad ready. "The special arrangements your husband keeps mentioning don't exist," I continued. "You have a standard event contract with a family discount. Any changes beyond that contract cost extra, including the $2,000 dessert you just ordered." Barbara's face had gone from flushed to pale. "Jason doesn't know?" "Jason never asked about my business. He assumed like you did that I was struggling. Small time. Not worth explaining things to. This is." Barbara swallowed hard. "This is embarrassing." "Yes," I agreed. "It is." Marcus appeared around the corner looking for his wife. He stopped short when he saw us. "Marcus," I said pleasantly. I'm Riley Chin. We met 3 years ago when you tried to negotiate down the pricing for your company gala. You complained about the management being difficult. That was my management team following my policies. The color drained from his face. Your wife just ordered $2,000 in additional desserts, I continued. She insisted it be billed to your special arrangement with the owner. Since I am the owner, I'm here to clarify. Would you like to add that to your final bill, or would you prefer to cancel the order? Marcus looked at his wife, then back at me. There's been a misunderstanding. Has there? When I said I knew the owner. You don't, I interrupted gently. You've never met me. You've certainly never done me any favors. The discount you received was a gift to my brother, not a result of your influence. A small crowd had gathered, wedding guests attracted by the commotion. I recognized several of the Thorntons' business associates from cocktail hour. The ones Marcus had been bragging to about his connections. Perhaps we should discuss this privately, Marcus said urgently. Why? I asked. You've been publicly claiming special relationships with this venue's ownership all evening. I'm simply clarifying the facts. Publicly. Barbara grabbed her husband's arm. Marcus, let's just go back to the reception. The dessert order? Patricia prompted. Cancel it, Marcus said quickly. It's fine. We're fine. Actually, I said, we're not fine. Patricia, can you pull up the Thorntonshire contract? She handed me her tablet. I scrolled through quickly. You've made 17 change requests since signing, I said. 6 were accommodated at no charge as a courtesy. 11 were declined because they violated contract terms. According to Patricia's notes, you've threatened to call the owner 4 times, claimed special arrangement 6 times, and told staff they'd be fired for enforcing policies twice. Marcus's face had gone gray. Several wedding guests were now openly watching. That's unacceptable, I said quietly. This venue has policies for a reason. My staff deserves respect. And frankly, Marcus, your behavior has been entitled and inappropriate. I apologize, he said stiffly. I didn't realize. You didn't realize I owned the venue. So you felt comfortable treating the staff poorly and making false claims about your influence. I paused. What does that say about your character? The words hung in the elegant corridor. Around us, guests shifted uncomfortably. Jason found me 20 minutes later. He looked stricken. Riley, he said. Is it true? You own the Riverside estate. Yes. For how long? 3 years. And you never told me? You never asked, I said. When you got engaged and Madison was complaining about venue costs, I suggested this place. When you booked it at a 30% discount, you assumed it was because Marcus knew someone. You never asked who. You gave us the discount, he said slowly. As a gift. I wanted you to have a beautiful wedding. And I asked you to park cars, he whispered. Oh God, Riley. I asked you to work as valet at your own venue. You did. Because Madison's parents were complaining about staffing, and they made it seem like you should be grateful to help, and I just... He ran a hand through his hair. I never asked what you actually do. I knew it was real estate and I just assumed it was small. You drive a regular car. You live in a normal condo. You never talk about money. Because money isn't my personality, I said. I built a business. I own properties. I work hard. I don't need to broadcast it to feel successful. But I should have known, Jason said. I should have asked. I should have cared enough to actually understand what you do. Yes, I agreed. You should have. Madison's parents have been awful, he continued. The comments about your practical career. The implications that you're struggling. And I let them. I was embarrassed by you because you weren't flashy like them. But you're successful. Really successful. And I was too self-absorbed to notice. That's the problem, I said quietly. Not that you didn't know the details. But that you were embarrassed. That you asked me to park cars to impress people who'd been disrespecting me for months. Jason looked like he might cry. What do I do? You go back to your reception, I said. You celebrate your wedding. And then, when you get back from your honeymoon, you decide if you want a relationship with me based on who I actually am, not who you assumed I was. Of course I do, he said desperately. Riley, you're my sister. I love you. Do you? Or do you love the version of me you created in your head? The struggling little sister who needs guidance and doesn't threaten your ego. He flinched. That's not fair. Isn't it? You introduced me to Marcus's business associates as my sister who does some real estate work. Not as a property owner. Not as a successful businesswoman. As some real estate work. Like I dabble in house showings on weekends. I didn't know. Because you never asked, I finished. Jason, I supported you through college. I help with your career. I've been there for every milestone. But the moment you got engaged to someone from a wealthy family, you started acting like I was an embarrassment. That's not about information. That's about respect. The reception continued, but the energy had shifted. Word had spread about the confrontation in the service corridor. Guests looked at me differently now, with interest, respect, some with embarrassment for their earlier dismissiveness. Marcus and Barbara kept their distance. Their business associates who'd heard Marcus bragging about his venue connections now knew the truth. Several approached me to apologize for their assumptions. Madison found me near the garden doors as the evening wound down. Jason told me, she said quietly. About the venue. About everything. Congratulations on your wedding, I said politely. I was awful, she continued. The comments about you being selfish. About you needing to help out. I just assumed. My parents said you were probably struggling and I believed them without questioning it. Your parents made assumptions based on my clothes and car, I said. You all did. Because I don't perform wealth the way you're used to seeing it. That's not an excuse, Madison said. I should have gotten to know you. Really know you. You're Jason's only sibling and I treated you like hired help. Yes, I agreed. You did. Can we start over? She asked. I know I don't deserve it. But I'd really like to try. I looked at her. This woman my brother loved, who'd been raised to value appearances over substance, who was young and probably capable of learning better. Maybe, I said. After you and Jason get back from your honeymoon we can have coffee. Just us. And you can ask me about my actual life. I'd like that, she said. Thank you. I left the reception around midnight. Jason caught me in the parking lot. Riley, wait. I turned. Thank you, he said. For the venue discount. For the beautiful wedding. For not kicking us out when we were horrible to you. You're my brother, I said simply. I wanted you to have a good wedding day. Even though I didn't deserve it. Maybe especially because you didn't deserve it. That's what family does. He hugged me tightly. I'm sorry. For all of it. For being embarrassed. For not seeing you. For letting the Thorntons treat you that way. I know, I said. But Jason, this can't happen again. If we're going to have a relationship going forward, it needs to be based on mutual respect. Not assumptions. Not embarrassment. Real respect. It will be, he promised. I swear. I drove home in my modest sedan, through the city I'd built my business in, past several properties I owned. My phone showed messages from Patricia. The wedding had concluded successfully, final billing would be processed Monday. The Thorntons had been subdued but polite for the remainder of the evening. And one message from Jason, you're the best sister anyone could ask for. I'm sorry it took me so long to realize it. I smiled and pulled into my normal condo's parking garage. Tomorrow I'd return to work. To property management, contract negotiations, staff meetings. To the business I'd built quietly without fanfare, measuring success by achievements rather than appearances. The Thorntons would learn eventually what Jason was learning now. Wealth and success come in many forms. Sometimes the most successful people are the ones who don't need to announce it. And sometimes the sister you ask to park cars owns the entire venue.